No one's ever,
nervous.
no one's
I'll
ever
do it
died.
anyway.
No one's ever died from being on my show. Not yet. You might be the first. No, just kidding. All right.
No,
Hey,
not all these fruits and vegetables I'm having.
absolutely. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Well, everybody loves a good success story, and most people like a good weight loss story too. And I have one for you today. Her name is Jenny. She's lost over 100 pounds, and she did it by juicing for 266 days. Please welcome her to the show. It's so nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you too. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor, and I have followed you for a long time, and I really appreciate, just all the love and light that you share out into the world and the information.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks for reaching out to me, because people don't realize it's not that I'm shy, but I don't like reaching out to guests because I've had a few people say, well, if I wanted to be on your show, I'd let you know. So that was great that you not really applied, but you told us, and I'm so happy you can do this. And I'm so interested in your story because I went on a juice fast the first time I went to the True North Health Center in 2011. I wasn't eligible at that time for a water fast, but I am now, and I'm going to be doing it at the end of September. And I'm just curious, 266 days, I did it for 5 days and I was miserable. So tell me how you did it for that long, why that length of time? And I'd just love to hear your story.
Absolutely. So I have been overweight. Well, not anymore, but I had been overweight my whole life. I mean, since childhood, and over 200 pounds since my teenage years, I think around middle school. So at my heaviest, I was about 267. And I always tried different things to lose weight, but nothing really stuck. I tried keto, but then I had heart palpitations and, everything just had consequences and it wasn't sustainable. And then just fast forward, I continued trying to find ways to get healthy. I think it was like 2016 or so when I was in a nutrition class and the World Health Organization classified meat as carcinogenous. And that's when I was like, wow, a lot of my family, I've seen cancer in my family. So I think I'm going to try to stop eating meat. And that's when I went vegan and I said, well, I just tapered off. Like I stopped eating chicken 1 month. And then the next month I stopped eating beef. And the next month the last thing I stopped eating was like eggs. And so I kind of tapered off that way. And I saw some real benefits in my health. I did see a little bit of weight loss, and I was already having some autoimmune issues back then, like arthritis type things going on in my hands. And I felt all of that ease. Well, then like a lot of vegan stuff like faux meats and faux cheeses and all these high fat things came out. And I started eating more of that stuff. And by the way, my husband, then boyfriend, he went vegan then too. And my whole family has been ever since, which is really cool. But those things came out, like the different burgers and things. And, I felt my health start to decline a little bit again, and even going vegan, I didn't like lose all the weight or anything like that. I did lose some, but not a substantial amount. Then just fast forward to, I continued on this path, y'all. I went vegan and I tried to incorporate more raw foods. And then I tried to incorporate more like whole food plant-based. As I learned over the years, I started learning about SOS, started learning about, calorie density and all those things and trying to understand that. And then in 2020, I had my daughter like a week before lockdown. I don't want to say the C word. I don't know if that gets us kicked off air at this point. But so I was really isolated and I got the worst case of postpartum depression. I was locked up with a 1-year-old and a newborn while all that was unfolding. And so my family didn't get to come see my baby. Like nobody saw her when she was little. I was all by myself, nursing and with another small one. And it was just so, I think, overwhelming. And stress started to get to me really, and I started to get really depressed. And a lot of health issues were popping up for me. I started having like dermatitis on my scalp. My anxiety and depression was through the roof. I was having autoimmune issues flare up in my hands where my knuckles would lock and I wouldn't be able to bend my fingers. My eyesight was deteriorating, like my elbows hurt. It was hard for me to get up and down off the floor with my children because my knees were hurting. Like I was so full of inflammation. And it was just, even right now, it's kind of putting tears in my eyes because it's so much different for me now, thinking about all that. I don't think about it as much now, but it was a really hard time. So I started going to therapy because I realized I really needed help. And that I just wasn't feeling like myself. Women, if you're postpartum and you're listening, reach out, connection, we need it, and you're not alone. Please know that. So I got some therapy. And also in the meantime, I had been looking at different health documentaries. And I came across Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, the movie that Joe Cross did. And if you all don't know listening, he did an extended juice fast. He had an illness that he was told there was nothing doctors could do for him. And he did this juice cleanse and he healed himself. And I was so inspired, and it was something different than anything I had ever tried. And I felt like I had tried everything. A lot of us who are on the dieting scene feel like we've tried everything. But then even different now, I had this other aspect of, my health. Like, well, it wasn't just the weight, but now the weight had caught up to me and the health issues were like rampant, So I watched that movie and I thought, like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try to juice. So I didn't have a juicer and I couldn't afford one. I would use my blender. So again, if anybody's listening and you want to juice and you can't afford a juicer, I would use my blender. I would blend up watermelon juice and different things, and I would pour it through a strainer and sift it. And I did that until I saved up enough money to get a juicer, a good juicer. And then my husband also got me the Namaje too, which I love and I use through my whole long juice cleanse. But I tried for a while to juice for quite a while, and I would be able to do 3 days here and, 5 days here. And maybe I would eat raw for 10 days here. And then I would do 5 days of juice here. And by doing that, I managed to lose about 30 pounds prior to finally doing the long juice cleanse. And then just one day it was just like, okay, I really, really want to do this and get my health in order and be here for my children and my family and, shine my brightest light out into the world. I feel like we're all put here for a purpose. We all have love to share. And a lot of times what we're eating and absorbing and even consuming through like TV and different things, it's so negative and it really brings us down. So I was finally able to juice. I joined a juicing community. It's really important to have connection, and that helped me. I joined a community, couple communities, and I made a friend, and I started reaching out to that friend like on a regular basis, my friend Aline, and she really helped me to stay on track with the juicing and encourage me, because there are a lot of ups and downs, a lot of detoxing and stuff involved. You mentioned that during your juice cleanse, you were miserable. Well, I learned on my first long juice cleanse that that's very normal because we have a lot of bacteria in our tummies sometimes and different things in our stomach that's got to deal with the adjustment too. And when we start really flushing our body with the fruits and vegetables, it can stir up some of the toxicity and it's trying to leave the body, and it can make us feel bad, like sometimes I would have headaches, or sometimes I would have like a breakout on my skin. There's a lot of different ways that detox presents, but if you can get past that, and for me, it was like the 10-day mark in my head. Once I got past the 10 days, it was like, okay, I can really do this. That's when I started to feel a lot better. And you really get the ups and downs. But what I found is being an emotional eater, that, it can feel a bit stressful at times because we're really used to comforting ourselves with food and other things. And so I really learned to start, instead of comforting myself with food, I started to comfort myself with self-care actions that really loved me back. I always say I started to learn to love what loved me back, and the junk food was not loving me back. So I started going and my life started changing. I started realizing, that I wasn't taking the best care of myself. As a mom, often we put ourselves on the back burner. We do everything for everyone. And, we don't recognize that we're neglecting ourselves. So now that's really why I share, because I want other moms out there to know, that you're important and you're so needed and you deserve the love and care that you give your children. So I went on this long juice cleanse, and you mentioned about the water fast as well. I didn't mention this, but at the end of my water fast, at the end of my juice fast, I feel like it was around 220 days or something like that. I actually started to not feel well. I had caught a bug, and I ended up deciding to do a water fast. I water fasted for 20 days at the end. It was a really incredible experience, but I highly recommend anybody entering into water fasting, do your research. You might need supervision, you need help, and it's something you have to be very, very careful with. But yeah, I feel like I cleaned out my gut really well, and it helped so much with my mental health. My joints started moving better. I started feeling more patient, more calm, more emotional stability. And just feeling like I had more love and energy to give out into the world. I started feeling a yearning to serve. And that's when I came on YouTube and when I started sharing my story online, because I felt like if I wouldn't have seen Joe Cross's movie, I may have never tried this and changed my life. And then Joe Cross ended up inviting me on his show. I have been on his channel twice. So if anybody wants to check out those interviews, they're there.
I did watch those interviews. That was great.
Thank you. And things just started changing for me. And I just started realizing that, I wanted to help other women and to take good care of myself so that I could be the best for my family and to just be able to shine my light bright for others who are, stuck in a dark place like I was. And then I ended up reaching out to you because a friend of mine, a mutual friend of ours, had suggested, she was like, it would be so good for you to go on Chef AJ. She's so sweet. I think you would love it. And that's when I reached out. I would have never thought,
We love these kind of stories. Jenny, when was this? When do you remember the first day of your juice fast?
Yeah, so the first day of my juice fast was April 4th, last year, so 2022. And then I finished it up, I want to say December 26th, maybe like the day after Christmas. So I juiced from April until the end of the year.
Wow. So what made you choose 266 days?
You know what? I have really been on a mission to start listening to my body and the cues that it gives me so that I can really recognize where I need to focus attention. And so I actually did not have a goal. When I started, my initial goal was 10 days. And I said, you know what? I'll set myself a short-term goal that I can reach. And when I get there, I'll reassess every time. And that's what I did. I started going 10 days at a time. And in the back of my mind, I had already started to realize, like, because of how severe my health issues were, that I was going to need to go quite some time. And so I just listened to my body and how I was feeling, and I went from there. That's why it's an odd number. A lot of times you see people do a number on the 10 or on the 5, but mine's just 66 at the end. It's just because that was the day when my body said, you know what? I think it's time to eat that papaya. And I did. I just listened to what
I saw that video where you ate it. What did it taste like? What did it taste like eating food for the first time?
So I don't love papaya. What's interesting is my body told me I wanted that. So it was different eating that, but it was strange eating again. It was almost as if, like, when I first started chewing it, I wasn't sure if I was going to swallow it. I was like, well, am I ready? I'm not sure. And then it felt very strange to swallow because it had been so long. But don't worry, I got over that very, very quickly. And you said you watched the video. So I just kept eating the papaya. It's like, okay, it's like riding a bike, you get right back on. But it was weird after not for so long.
I can imagine. Like, did you have any cravings while you were juicing, or like any fantasies of what you were going to eat when you stopped? What was it like? Were you cold? Were you cranky? Did you have energy? How many times a day did you juice? What juices did you make?
Oh, okay, that was a lot. So let me see. The juices that I love to make usually contain watermelon. So for those of you listening, if you're on a tight budget, watermelon has so much juice, like 90 something percent water. So you get a lot of juice. One watermelon will give me 4 to 6 quarts, so a gallon, even sometimes more. So I juiced, my favorite recipe is watermelon, pineapple, lime, and mint.
Wow.
That is so delicious. And then my favorite green juice that I like to make is celery, cucumber, apple, pineapple, jalapeno. Try a jalapeno in your juice. It's so good.
That sounds
So,
great, actually.
yeah. And then I usually do about 4 quarts for me a day, but I recommend just listening to your body. Some days I needed like 6 quarts or more. And then some days I could barely get down to 4. So everybody is really different. And you just kind of have to feel it out. But I always say, like, kind of start off at 4 and see how that feels, and have more if you need to, because I was not truly hungry this whole time, y'all. I had cravings, and I learned that I wanted to eat emotionally, but I wasn't having the cravings. Were just cravings, just learning to get past it. Our cravings are hooked to our memories. And so it was like a real journey for me, really tapping into my behaviors and changing my behaviors, and looking at the reasons why I felt like I was hungry. Like, I still cooked for my kids and everything this whole time, and my family. And people always ask how I did that. And it's like, well, I drank juice. And if I was craving what I was cooking for them and drinking juice, that helped it to pass. But it also helped me to really recognize that I wasn't actually hungry. If I just drank 800 calories worth of juice and I'm wanting to eat curry, it's probably not real hunger. So it really helped me to differentiate between just craving something and what real hunger was.
That's
Did I miss
amazing.
any of the questions in there?
But that is amazing that you were still able to prepare the food, because a lot of times when people go on juice fast or water fast, they're at a place like True North where they're not being exposed to food. And
Yes, that I highly recommend moms who are juicing, have a juice with you. Like, while drink a juice before you cook, drink a juice while you cook, drink a juice after you cook if you have to, and then your body's going to know that you're nourished. And it even got to a point where I really enjoyed the food smells. I just enjoyed to smell it. It got to a point where that was enough because my body knew it was nourished, which was really cool.
Can I ask you, it's kind of personal, but do you still poop when you're juicing?
So actually, you would be amazed how much old waste is in there. I was still pooping like at 200 days sometimes. It wasn't very much, but actually that was one of the factors that I was looking at for when I wanted to quit. I knew that there is a lot of backed up waste in the gut, and that it holds a lot of toxicity. And it said that getting all of that out of there during juicing, is what helps to heal the gut, and the gut helps to heal the body, because so much of our overall health is linked to our gut, we know now.
That's amazing. That because I didn't realize, because when you juiced, you're taking the fiber away. What did you do with all that fiber?
Sometimes I would save things depending on how I juiced it. Like, if it was a good combination flavor wise, there are some different things you can do with it. You can put it in ice cube trays and put it in the freezer, and then you can drop it into smoothies. Or if it's like a veggie based and you keep your things separate, you can freeze a veggie one in the freezer, and you can take it out and drop it into hot water and make a broth. You can also take them and take your pulp, depending on like what you're juicing again. And like Fully Raw Christina has a great recipe for like raw carrot cake that she makes with those. And that's wonderful. Or little cupcakes too. My kids prefer like cupcake type. And then I'm trying to think what else. Oh, flax crackers are so awesome. So I have my kids, I can make crackers in the dehydrator. And also you can take I'm a plant person. I love plants. So you can take the different pulps, depending what it is, and soak it in water, and the nutrients will leach out into the water. And then you can water your plants with that and give your plants extra nutrients. So there's a lot, and I'm sure there's like a zillion more things you can do, but those are just a few things you can do with the pulp if you want to not waste. And then sometimes, honestly, for me, if the combination was weird and I didn't have anything to do with it, then I did, let it go or put it in the compost or whatever.
That's so interesting, because people think that juicing is expensive. So was it expensive to juice for 266 days?
I learned ways to make it not so expensive. It was very expensive at first. And then I learned that I didn't have to follow anybody's particular protocol. I didn't have to do it a certain way. I could figure out what would work for me, and I could take what resonated from different people that I watched. And because at first I felt I had to drink like a certain protocol. So I was trying to drink something called lemon ginger blast, for instance, and that has a lot of ingredients, and it is more of an expensive juice, and it's a wonderful juice. I love this juice, you all. That's Lou Corona's juice recipe. It's fabulous. But I was trying to follow a protocol where I needed to drink several of those a day. And so it was a whole lot of celery and herbs, and it was just a ton of ingredients. But you can really whittle it down and do a lot less ingredients and do it way more simple, and it's much less expensive. That's why I mentioned the watermelon at first, because watermelon is just, it's so good. Like if I drink 4 quarts of juice a day, and one watermelon here right now is $5 here in Texas. You can get a watermelon for $5. That'll get you probably anywhere from 4 to 8 quarts of juice. So, if you're only drinking 4 juices a day, that's 2 days worth of juice for $10. Like that's actually really cheap. For me, I drank some green juices too. So those do make the bill go up a little bit, but you can definitely catch sales, and it really helps to juice what's in season.
That's great. Do you also, when you juice, drink water in addition, or you don't need to?
I don't need as much personally. I try to wake up and drink 32 ounces of water. That's just how I live. I like to do that all the time. And especially cucumber water. I love cucumber water. So I try to get up and I have water in the morning, and throughout the day, if I want to sip some water while juicing, then I will. But I really did not need as much water when I was juicing.
I'm just curious, did you weigh yourself throughout this process? And if so, how often?
I did. And I weighed myself once a week, and I documented it. Actually, I might have my little chart. I was just looking. I had made a little chart when I was juicing, and I had put down my weight loss. It ended up being about 10 pounds a month, or 8 to 10 pounds a month if it was averaged out. But every Monday, so weekly on Mondays, I would weigh myself. And, sometimes the scale would go up. Sometimes it would go down. So, I think a lot of people get caught up when in weight loss. Like if you see your weight go up a little bit or fluctuate one way, or you kind of get in a plateau, you get discouraged. But please don't, because a lot of things really affect weight loss for us. Even our stress levels, our sleep, whether we're on our cycle. For us women, there are so many things that cause weight fluctuation. So I would see my weight go up sometimes. I would see it go down sometimes. Sometimes it would stay the same. And then sometimes I'd also see like big flushes where it was like, whoa, like the first 3 days I lost I think it was like 14 pounds or something, merely from removing like salt, because I retain water from salt big time. And that's something I learned too. Salt makes me hold water in my ankles and just makes me achy when I have too much, or even, honestly, for me, even a little bit does it, is what I'm learning.
How old were your children at the time of this 266-day juice fast?
Okay, so 2022, so that would make them, and it was April. So my son was about to turn 4, and my daughter had just turned 2.
And
So
were
2
they,
and 4.
did they notice that mommy wasn't eating? Did they question it?
No, they didn't even notice.
That's
They just
funny.
kept on about their business, and they just kept on going. And then also sometimes, like, I would, and I'm not recommending this for anyone juicing, just because we're all at different levels, but I would even take fruit sometimes. Like if they were eating grapes, then I would take some grapes and I might chew them up and then just have a napkin and spit out the fiber. Like, this is the original juicer right here.
Oh, that's hilarious. Because one of the viewers were saying, did you ever accidentally cheat and put food in your mouth? Because maybe you forgot you were juice fasting,
Yeah, I never accidentally did that, but there was a couple times when I chewed up fruit where it was so good and it started to go down the throat, and I was like, oh, and I had to catch myself. But it can be tough. So if you're like new into juicing, it might not be the best to be chewing on fruit at first, until you're a little more seasoned, because it can make you want to eat something. But it's great to get those enzymes going, and the chewing motion.
I'm curious, did you see a doctor at any time before or during or after your journey? Not that you needed their permission, but I'm just curious.
I was actually set to go in for an appointment, for a couple appointments for different things. And then the lockdown happened. And, that's when all this really started for me. And so when that happened, my appointments, even with different people, got canceled, and they were saying only some things were considered. I don't remember what they said at the time. You remember, maybe there was some wording for it, like essential. And so, like, a lot of, like, dentists closed and a lot of different things. So much was happening with that. And also a little bit of fear of going into the doctor. We were all trying to minimize contact at that point, since nobody knew what was going on. So my appointments got canceled. And then I saw a doctor and a therapist, but I didn't have like a physical done or anything. I know people have different feelings on this. Like, some people, it feels really good to go into the doctor and get a diagnosis. And it's like, okay, I know where to go from here. And then for me, it was a little bit different. It was more like a little bit like, I didn't want the label. I knew something was wrong, and I wanted to try out the fruits and vegetables first before I had someone tell me I was sick with this, and then me feel just kind of like defeated by it. So I did not go to the doctor. I did keep in touch with my doctor, but I didn't go in the whole time, actually.
Wow. And now you said you did a water fast on your own after the juice fast.
Well, at the end, and then I picked back juicing. So it was like probably like day 40 or 240. I started on the water for like 20 days and then eased back into the juices
You
after
did
that.
water? I didn't know you did water yourself by 20 days at home.
Yes, but again, I don't recommend that. I always want to preface with that, because I don't talk too much about it, because I don't want to encourage it. It's a very
No, and thank you for saying that. But how was that?
careful.
Was it difficult as compared to juice? Because I've heard that sometimes people have said that water is actually easier because it completely blunts your hunger after a couple of days.
For me, it was easy as far as drinking the water, but what was not easy was being a mama of 2 small kids and not having the energy, running up and down the stairs all day, and just all the things that you have to do when you have little ones, lifting them and stuff like that. I think I lost 20 pounds in that 20 days. That was like a big zip. And I did gain that back. So a lot of times you water fast, you gain back, because I lost a lot of muscle when I did it. I could tell.
Yeah. So how quickly did you start eating regular meals, and what were they like when you started eating again after the first papaya?
Um, it was nice. It was for someone who has been emotionally eating for a long time, it can, well, probably for anybody, or especially anybody who's overweight. I had developed a routine with juicing, and um, while I enjoyed eating again, it also did bring in a little bit of stress after a couple months when I started having temptations to eat things like nuts and like I went and had some food from one of my favorite restaurants, and it was all veggies. It was Ethiopian food, which I love, which is like lentils and collard greens and all those things, but it was cooked with oil at this restaurant. And so when I started bringing in a few of those things in February, that's when I saw my weight start to jump up, and I had to kind of reassess, because it happened quickly. I have a little bit of some thyroid stuff going on, so that can make you gain weight like rapidly. But when I first started eating, I didn't have that problem because I remained eating raw foods. So when I first transitioned back into eating, I was eating fruit. I had the papaya, and then I had actually had the papaya for a couple more days. And then the next few days, I brought in another kind of fruit. And then after about a week and a half or so, that's when I started to have some salads. And then I brought in a little bit of fat, and I had a little bit of the avocado. But I did notice when I brought back in the fat, it's a learning process, and I realized that I cannot have very too much of it, or I just put weight on like very unnaturally fast. Like I could eat out and eat a meal, I learned, like with oil and salt. And also because I have water retention from salt, I could eat a meal out to eat, and I would gain like 10 pounds overnight, and it wouldn't come off easy, like quick either, and a lot of it was like water retention. And so definitely a process. A lot of people who do long juice cleanses say that the process of learning to eat, or they call it refeeding, is more difficult than the juicing itself. And I would agree with that. Once I got in about 40 days into my juice cleanse, it was just like there was acceptance within me, like, okay, I'm not eating after this point, because if I were to just randomly eat some craving I had, like pizza, I could really hurt myself. With your gut being cleaned out, not having any salt, not having any oil. So you have to be careful too, y'all, if you're listening and you do an extended juice cleanse. You can't just jump back into eating anything. You really have to be careful and ease your body back in. And so that's what I did. I eased in from all January. And then, like I said, February, I started to dabble a little bit. On my birthday, I had that oil food. That's when I started to gain weight, and I started to feel some things coming back, like some pain in my joints. And so juicing is a tool in my toolbox now, and it's really helping me to, work on like binge eating and emotional eating. And so it's really great to have these different tools in our toolbox that we can pull back out. So when I'm struggling, then, I can always go back on, juicing and get myself back aligned with the path that I want to be on. So it's really helpful. I'm actually juicing right now.
You're kidding.
So
So
I have vacation coming up.
how often do you still juice, and why?
I started a group called Weekend Juice Fasters, and that is because I was really struggling with all the temptations on the weekends, taking my kids everywhere. And it's a free community if anybody wants to join. I gave Chef AJ the link, so she'll put it for you. But so I started doing that to help other parents, and just whoever that's struggling on the weekends. And I started doing like juice on the weekends. And I like to have a juice like every single day. And right now I'm on another little bit of an extended cleanse right now. And this is my first time doing another longer one. And it will probably be a long time before I do another longer one again. So I make juice. I think it's really great to incorporate juice every day. I love to have a green juice or a watermelon juice. And juicing on the weekends, sometimes when I know like people are going to be eating out and doing all the things, I can juice on the weekend. And then I have the freedom of not having to be concerned or tempted at the restaurants or with what everybody else is doing. So I kind of use it as a tool like that. But juicing is an everyday thing for me.
Nice. That's so cool. You know, I probably should have done this a long time ago, but you have some spectacular before and after pictures. So let me share my screen. Just
I
forget how
need to do some fresh ones since I cut my hair. My hair was real long when I started.
I love this one because you got when okay, guys, can you see that?
Yes.
Great. So what's really cool is I scroll up. Look, you got the little one right there on your belly. Isn't that funny?
My baby.
Look at that. Yep. And then we have another one here. So
And
that
I never, ever, ever, ever expected to share that photo. That photo I took for myself at a point where I was really struggling. And I took the photo and I put it in a folder, a locked folder in my phone. And that photo was for me to remember, where I was. And I promised myself that I was going to be healthier someday. And I was going to look back on this photo and remember. And I never ever thought I'd share it. And I was very, very embarrassed to share it, honestly, at first. And now I know it helped so many people. So many people tell me that they were my size before and that they've struggled their whole lives. And, again, we feel so lonely sometimes being overweight or having health issues, but we are not alone. There are so many people out there that are struggling with similar things. And it's important to know.
Yeah, amazing. Were you overweight since you were little? And are your other family members, do they struggle as well?
Yes, my other family members do struggle as well. And what was the other half? Do they struggle? And
No,
was I overweight since childhood? Yes.
Were you overweight as a child?
Yes, I remember like being a kid and going to like a checkup. And then coming home and being like, oh, I weighed 185 pounds. Like I was a kid. And I remember them, like my mom and them telling me, baby, that's not good. I was like, oh, 185. Like that was, kids, you're thinking like a bigger number, like, oh, I'm growing. But it was like, no, I was already way too big. And by the time I was in middle school, I was 200 pounds.
Yeah. How tall are you?
5. I give myself 5'5", but I'm probably 5'4".
How do you know how much weight you lost completely throughout the process?
Through the whole water fast, and through juicing and eating the raw foods, and then the full blown juicing, and then the water fast, I ended up losing 135 pounds. So it was half of my body weight. I actually reached out to you before I was even to that point. But yeah, so I ended up losing 135 pounds. Like I said, about 20 of that was on the water fast. And so that 20 came back, once I started eating again. And now I'm sitting at a little bit heavier weight than I was. I have gained back about 30 pounds, but I have gained back so much muscle.
Yeah.
So much muscle mass has come back and I'm feeling strong again, good, like lifting and throwing my kids and taking them all over the place. So I'm just continuing on my journey and kind of learning about where my body's going to even out and feel comfortable. And it's just truly a blessing to be on this path and to feel so much better, to be able to, inspire others and let others know that you can really take hold of your health. And it does make so much of a difference what we eat. We just don't realize how much of a difference it makes. You can start eating like whole food, plant-based, for instance, for a couple days, and your body's going to feel it just like that, practically overnight. It's spectacular.
Yep. So Libby wants to know what your favorite juicer is. And there's a link for your favorite juicer with a discount right below in the show.
Yes. My favorite juicer is the Nama J2. And I was not affiliated the whole time I used it, but they did affiliate with me recently and give me a code for you all to get $55 off. And it's the Nama J2. And I really like it because I'm a busy mom. I am go, go, go all the time. And I need something easy and fast. And I can literally juice a couple watermelons, and get 8 quarts of juice in that thing in like 30 minutes. So I'm not chained to the juicer. I used to have one of those where I had to jam everything through the top and push the thing. And I'm not saying those are bad, but it just wasn't working for me because I was so busy as a mom. I work, I homeschool, and I was trying to juice and do this inner healing and work on myself. So it was just a lot. And so it really helped me to have a high quality juicer, to not have to feel like I was just chained to the kitchen. So that's the Nama J2. And like AJ said, there's a code there for you for a discount.
Everyone loves that one. That's the one Chris Ward likes too.
It's the best one I've tried. Just phenomenal. So much quicker. There's more yield. The pulp comes out more dry, so it's better to use in other things. I just love it. I can't say enough about it.
Does anyone in your family ever juice with you?
So actually, when I started sharing, some of my family members did reach out and say, hey, well, what do you juice? What did you do? And that's really surprising. A lot of times we don't realize who's watching or listening. And so many people, they never like our posts or comment or say anything, but they're absorbing the information still. So I did have a lot of family members and friends reach out and say, hey, congrats. Can you tell me more? What did you do? And then just tons of people in general have really reached out. And again, that's why I created that free weekend juicing community too. And I'm excited to tell y'all, if you do want to join the community, I just recently made an ebook. I've been trying to find ways to help people ease into juicing. And so I just made an ebook called The Guide to Weekend Juice Fasting. And it has different levels that you can do, like 1 juice a day, or you can do juice till 5 and then have a nice salad for dinner, or you can do like a whole weekend. But it kind of breaks down like how much juice to drink. And it has some really great information, and it's just a gift. It's free. So if you need some help knowing where to start with juicing, feel free to join the community and get your free copy. It's up in the files section.
Thank you. So Rich is saying, when you juice, can you leave the pulp? Wouldn't that be more nutritious? That would be more like a smoothie.
Yeah, that would be a smoothie, and you can do that. And actually, I've seen a lot of people do smoothie cleanses, and that's wonderful too. I'm just all about get those fresh fruits and vegetables into your body. It's going to help to regenerate your cells and hydrate you on a whole nother level.
Shelley says that she finds you very inspirational, as I believe everyone here does, myself included. It says she followed your juice journey in the Joe Cross group.
Hello, thank you for following me, and thank you for letting me know that you found inspiration. It is very scary to put ourselves out there. Sometimes I'm a very shy person. Even before this, I was telling Chef AJ, I'm nervous, but now I just show up and I say, it's okay to be afraid, but we just, do it brave and just do it anyway and have courage. And it just helps us to grow, stepping outside of that box. So I really, really appreciate that. It makes me feel so good to know that, people are finding benefit and comfort in my story and possibly inspiration. So thank you.
Absolutely. That picture is worth 1,000 words. People keep asking about the juicer. They need to look right below this video on YouTube. If you're watching anywhere other than YouTube, you don't see show notes, and there's a clickable link to the juicer and her discount code. So you got to look right under, guys. So people are saying, if it was smoothies instead of juices, would you drink the same amount? How many smoothies would you have? But you just let your body be your guide and drink until you were full.
Yeah, absolutely. And with smoothies, that's going to be a little heavier and probably a little more calories. I don't think you probably need as many smoothies, but honestly, I'm not sure. So I don't want to say, but I have done days where I do drink just smoothies just in my life, just in everyday thing. And I love to have a couple smoothies and a salad. I love balancing out the liquids and having the fiber. It makes me feel so light and energetic to be able to run around and chase my kids.
They're asking, which model do you use? Are there different models of the Nama J2?
Yes, I have the J2, and that's the one I would recommend. I had the J1 as well. That's the first one I got, and my husband surprised me with the J2, and that's when I started my my long juice cleanse, and the J2 made it so much easier because it was so much faster and so easy to clean. Like I am done like this. Whereas when I first started juicing, I would be juicing for hours and it was very stressful for me, but now it's very easeful and joyous. It's a self-care practice, you know, it has a whole different vibe to it because I have a good quality juicer that makes things easy and I have a nice simple workflow. I know what I need. I grab my trash can, my bowl, my strainer, my juicer, my knife, my cutting board, my jars, and I'm ready to go. And it's like that too with any diet. I hate to use the word diet, but any even style that you eat, you know, even if you eat whole food plant-based or you eat SOS, it's like, you know, the easier you can make your meal prep, which essentially that's what it is, the higher your success rate is going to be.
Can you prep juices ahead of time, or how did you ever like prep them for the day, or do they have to be made and drank right away?
I prep, and the Nama J2 is very good for batch juicing. That's why I was saying I will juice a whole watermelon and that will make 4 quarts of juice. So I usually make 2 to 3 days worth of juice at a time. And then I usually put it in mason jars with the really great no leak seals, and make sure you fill your jar up as high as you can if you're batch juicing, because the less air, then the better, the more fresh your juice will stay. But I don't typically go over 3 days myself, but some people say you can even keep them in there 5 days.
Nice. Well, Jennifer, let's see, I saw it. Let me find her question. Oops, I'm on the wrong screen here. Well, first of all, she said that she thanks you for being brave enough to share such a personal journey. She's grateful and wanted to know if you ever are concerned about blood sugar spikes from drinking juice.
No, honestly, I'm not concerned. And I've tried to listen to my body very, very closely and make sure I'm not experiencing any symptoms of that, and I have never had any issues over the whole time. If you do experience something like that, I know that some people will add some water to their juice, and also I've also seen people will do you know, less fruit in their juice. So you know, I know Joe, he recommends doing like I think it's like at least 50% vegetables in each juice. I know everybody has their different ways of doing it. So if you are feeling your blood sugar feels a little off, you know, you can always adjust and not use as much fruit. Maybe do like apple celery. That's a really good one. And cucumber is the fruit and it's really great for juicing and it's really low sugar. So there are some ways around that if you are feeling some of that.
Yeah, cucumber juice is wonderful. Do you ever worry that you could gain any of the weight back?
Well, it's sort of like, you know, really, do I worry? Yes. So I'll start off by saying that because I really truly feel like that's something, when you're overweight, like for so long, and you first find success, it's scary. It's like, am I gonna fall back into my old patterns again? You know, so it is scary. And when I did start to gain some weight back, it's like I mentioned, it's like a tool in your toolbox, you know, just like whole food plant-based, like just different things. You can really pull that tool out of your toolbox whenever you feel like you are slipping off, you know. So if I feel like I'm gaining a little bit of weight, it could help me to juice for a couple days and reassess and check like, okay, am I having more fats? You know, so I'm just constantly learning to adjust. And I will say I worried more about weight gain at first. And now I'm just kind of trying to trust my body. And for me, this has been a real journey of self-love and self-care. So I also have told myself that I love myself at every size. So I know that I'm going through a period right now after, you know, juicing so long where my body's kind of finding equilibrium. I'm learning what works for me and what doesn't. And if I see that my weight is ticking up, then I make adjustments. I say, okay, am I having too much fat? You know, am I having too much calories? And I can really take a look and readjust, but I'm able to catch it, you know, much quicker.
Nice. What kind of stuff do you make for your family?
My family, I really love, what do you call it? We eat whole food plant-based mainly, and I really love to make them like, um, I love to make my husband especially like 50-50 plates. I know you know what that is. So we do a lot of like, I'll cook. Well, first of all, they eat a lot of raw food. I'll start off by saying that. So my family eats like a high raw diet. My kids, they wake up, they like to have a smoothie, they like to have their fruit, their nuts and things. They love to eat like salad and herbs and stuff like that. But then additionally, cooking wise, I tend to do like, we might have like collard greens and baked potatoes, or have a baked potato or a sweet potato. We eat a lot of sweet potatoes with a salad, or I'll make them like pans of like chickpeas and bell peppers and broccoli and things, and roast that in the oven, where it's like a kind of plethora of vegetables that you can put on top of a salad or eat by itself or put on rice. So they really eat more of a whole food plant-based diet with an emphasis on making sure we eat some raw foods every day and get those good living enzymes in.
Do you have any junk food in your house? And does it tempt you if you do?
So we do keep a couple little things sometimes, which actually they're gone now. Like my kids do like these little coconut. It's just coconut and they cover it in dark chocolate. And they're little treaties and things that they have on occasion. They are healthier than it's not Oreos or anything like that. It's going to be something like that, where it's some coconut with some chocolate or something. And they have treats on occasion. And when those things do slip into the house, I put them, they have their own container, and that container goes on the very top shelf to the very back where none of us can see it and none of us are tempted by it. And on the rare occasion somebody would like a treat or something special is going on, that's when we pull that bucket down. But you would be amazed how much it helps just to keep that stuff out of sight.
Yep, absolutely. You know what
I
they
have to get a stool out and dig it out. And so it has to be so intentional. It can't be compulsive where I'm just like, ooh, candy,
yeah. People are saying, well, why don't you just eat the watermelon? I don't think people understand that when you have the fiber, whether it's from the whole fruit or vegetable or the smoothie, your digestion gets a better rest when you're juicing than you are if you're eating the food.
Yes, that's a good thing to explain. So, it's great to just eat the watermelon. You're so right. But for me, I was very sick. And like I mentioned with Joe Cross's movie, watching his movie, that was the reason why he juiced in particular. When we remove the fiber, but continue to give ourselves the calories and the vitamins and the minerals and the nourishment, we give our gut a rest. And when our gut is able to rest, it's able to heal other things in the body and at an accelerated rate. So by removing the fiber, it didn't take very long before my joints felt better. It didn't take very long before I saw a lot of healing. So that's why. But definitely eat the watermelon. It's so good for you. And I don't want anybody to be discouraged from eating whole fruit. And juicing is not like a lifelong thing for me either, exclusively. You definitely have to get in some fiber. But that's the reason why, if you're needing to heal or if you're struggling with weight loss, I really wanted to get that old waste out of my gut that they say accumulates over the years. That was a big part of it for me too, because a lot of sickness resides there. So that's why I took the fiber out for that long. But I'm all for fiber. Definitely have your fiber when you're not juicing.
Nice. Well, that's just extraordinary that you did it for 266 days. Doing anything healthy for that long it's amazing. So the ebook, how do people get that?
Oh, so in the links that I gave you, there's a link for the Weekend Juice Fasters Facebook group. It's a free group. So if you come join the free group, you'll see at the very top, there's a files section in the group, and in the files section, it is right there for you to download. And there's also a recipe book you can download for free that Nama shared with us. That is a summer juicing guide.
Nice. They probably are really excited about your success.
They are so sweet, such lovely people there. I love And I never thought that I would have any sort of affiliations or be doing anything that I'm doing now. It's just amazing when we start taking care of ourselves, how things come in alignment for us with our purpose and our yearning to serve.
I think they should be having your photo on every juicer.
Ah!
So if people, I know that all your links are in the show notes, the website, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Is there a preferred one where most people can connect with you more often?
I would say like Instagram, Facebook. I do post there regularly. I really want to post more on my YouTube, but there are some great videos there too, especially for those who are on extended cleanses. There's like a couple playlists you can watch to help give you inspiration while you're going. But as far as like daily activity, Instagram or Facebook.
Nice. Did you want to talk, because you put this in the show notes, so I figure it's okay to ask you about your son, and you did something to help him.
Oh, yes, sure. Well, while I've been on my healing journey, I really tried to help my son. My son is on the spectrum and was nonverbal. He was nonverbal all the way through, actually until like around the first of this year. So I had read about superfoods and how they can help kids on the spectrum. And my friends were telling me about one in particular, like a shake, and it's called Epigenius. And it's just like, mushrooms and berries and vegetables, and it's just got superfoods, spirulina and stuff like that in it. And I started giving that to my son, and he started having spectacular results, like working that into his smoothies. He started having more emotional stability. He started to verbalize more. And immediately, like everybody in his inner circle noticed. His therapists were like, wow, what are you doing? Because we see a spark, like he's wanting to learn it, and something is different, and that's what was different. I started giving him superfoods, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, I have to share this with people. And so I decided to partner up with the company so I could get discount codes and share it out there. So if you're interested in that, then I left a code for a coupon with Chef AJ as well, if you want to take a look at those. But the one he drinks in particular is called Epigenius. And I just make him a smoothie with it, or I make like little bliss balls, like with dates and nuts, and then I'll put the little powder in there, and actually my son is now speaking. Like his verbalization just took off when I started introducing the superfoods. So I wondered, because kids, especially on the spectrum, a lot of times they have sensory issues. They're very picky. And my son was very, very picky. And I was kind of worried about him missing things, by being so picky. And I think he was, because when he started on the superfoods, he just took off. And now he is just reading books out loud. He's working on his pronunciation, but his progress is just incredible. And so I wanted to share for any other parents who are struggling on the spectrum with picky eaters. And I drink it too as well. Sometimes it's delicious. I just do it with a couple frozen bananas, some water, or some hemp seeds, or whatever. You can do it different ways, but he loves it. And I have some recipes too on my pages, like how to use those superfoods if you're interested.
And so he's 5 now.
He's 5 and he's talking now, and it's just
nice.
Incredible. Yes. It's actually strange too. I'm just learning, like yesterday I was trying to explain to him about kind of like social etiquette with waiting to speak until someone else is finished speaking, because it's so new to us.
And your daughter is how old now?
My daughter is 3.
And so were your pregnancies, were you plant-based during your pregnancies? Because there's a question, how did you get your kids on board? Maybe they didn't have.
They were always on board. I was vegan when they were conceived.
Right.
But they did have some processed foods when they, since, like they have had a couple of processed foods that they enjoy. So I did have to kind of, slowly kind of taper back on those, but they still have them sometimes.
Great. Thank you. Jennifer says, so removing the fiber can help with joint pain. What was the joint pain caused from?
The joint pain was happening from inflammation and autoimmune issues. I had been having symptoms of arthritis for many, many years. My shoulder would lock in place. It was excruciating. My joints in my hands, because I worked in a casino for a long time. So I dealt cards for many, many years. So I developed.
That is very exciting. I was at one time wanted to be a poker dealer. What game did you deal?
I dealt everything actually at the casino that I was at. I dealt craps. I dealt 5-card stud, Texas Hold'em, blackjack, pitch, you name it. I dealt it. I did that for many years.
That's very, very cool.
I've done some fun stuff. That was a riverboat casino. Pretty cool.
Actually, that sounds like a pretty fun job. So Bit wants to know, how long after your juice fast was it before you could eat big amounts of vegetables, like a head of purple cabbage?
I didn't eat anything like that until it was probably like 2 months or so, because I tried to be very easy. I juiced for a long time, so I try to be very careful and start off just eating the things that I juiced, and I ate them raw. So I did that for a couple months, and it was probably 3 months or so when I was, well, I'd say maybe 2.5 months or so when I started eating bigger amounts of veggies and stuff.
Nice.
Felt more comfortable digesting it, because at first you're getting used to it and you have like some bloating and things. Even the papaya, when I first ate the papaya, I was bloated for days.
That's interesting.
My body, you have to rebuild your digestive enzymes. So that's another reason why you have to be careful, with how you ease out of things like this when you make big adjustments to your diet.
Are you like in the Guinness Book of World Records for longest juice fast?
I don't think so. I know a couple people from the communities that have juiced longer than me.
That's amazing. But people have to understand it's what you eat after the fast that people, you can't just juice and then go back to what you were eating.
No, not at all. I talk about that a lot because I'm a mindset coach too. And I talk about there is no finish line. People are like, wow, you did it. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it. Like right now, it could change at any time. There is no finish line. Whatever we do to get that car we want or to get that new job, we can't just stop doing it and think we're going to be able to keep the car or keep the job or whatever. So yeah, this is actually where the real struggle is, like really learning to eat again. I found, like I mentioned before, that it became easier with juice. I didn't have to think. I didn't struggle with temptation anymore because I had just committed that that was not an option for me. So learning to implement that same mindset now that I'm eating again is different, because we're reforming habits it's hard work.
Absolutely. Well, you're very, very fun to talk to. And that's just such an exciting.
You are too.
Yeah, it's, like I said, I'm glad you took that picture because, that's really going to get people's attention to maybe improve their health by eating more fresh fruits and vegetables, whether they juice them, eat them, make them into smoothie. We really don't care. We just want people to eat fruits and vegetables.
Absolutely. Just eat your fruits and veggies, drink your fruits and veggies, just get them in because you're going to feel better. And then you're going to be able to shine your light out into the world. That's what I really feel like is about taking care of ourselves so that we can just spread love and light out into the world and help others.
Well, you are definitely doing that. Thank you so much, Jenny. It's so nice to meet you. My pleasure. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back at 9 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow for Christine Benson. We'll talk about her book, Marrying Myself. She also has a journey herself of recovering from binge eating and losing some weight. And that show will be at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye.